Okay, so thoughts on the animal ID signs. I pretty much concentrated on this, just on the little one here, kind of get things started. It's obvious that it's just a matter of scale and just a few extra little things when it comes time to actually make these. So um, I scaled all this out. The first issue is that just by changing the size of the face meant changing this base quite a bit. So just by, crossing out a couple numbers and making them smaller meant that all of this changed. So I did that, brought it all down. So, and then I concentrated on the concrete ones. Obviously, the ones with poles that go into the ground, the posts that go all the way down, not as big an issue. So I was able to cook up the plate. We're going to go the 2x2 and change this from being 1 inch. Obviously, you can see where you have the thickness of this piece that's 1 inch. We're just going to go ahead and change that to 1/4 inch that just welds directly to the post. So it's not going to be maybe as thick as they designed, but it kind of is what it is. So that red there, like this would be a top view. That red there would be where the 1/4 inch just welds to. I'll be going over all this in another part of the video here coming up. We will take the time to build a jig. Anytime you're cutting something at a 30-degree angle like that, and then also trying to hold it in place up in the air like that, speaking from experience, it's not fun. It's hard to keep it, rotationally correct, perpendicular, and also, this way correct. So taking the time to make a jig for both sizes that you'll slap the face down, clamp it down all the way around your table, make it nice and easy, and then welding it, and also even having provisions for putting this little triangle piece at the right angle, that could be all part built in. So it's just wham, bam, tack, done. And we'll work our way through, even if we have 60 of these things. You can clamp up here, hold it in place. It's going to be awesome. So we just have that little bit of time to make a jig. Also, the jig can go upstairs when we're done, and if they order more, we're good to go. As far as the removable face, I went back and forth, and I think it'd be best to just go ahead and do kind of how they were saying, is just have removable hardware on the front. We'll do riv nuts through the face and just have a single panel with holes. One of the main things was these will be stackable. Let's say we have 60 of these faces. Also for them storing it. If you have studs shot onto the back of this, it's going to be scratch city. Whereas if you keep these flat with holes, you can do slip sheets and we can stack them up, and they can also store them better over there. So less chance, keeps it simple. We could even go so far as to order in some nice hex keys for them, McMaster car. And these would be nice hex bolts, round, kind of semi-security, just looking clean. And I think that would be the most feasible, straightforward way of changing out copy for people who aren't going to be us. The panel itself, in order to add girth, chuckle, it would be to just take the time to make a quick blade sign, keeping parts to a minimum. So that would be it. So we just do like a 1 inch thick with a 3/4 inch border and just a couple of jigs. So we do have some route time, but I think it would be worth it. And these would be very simple to make, straightforward anyway. And I see this as also breaking into basically 2 different production lines at the same time, which it'll just help us knock it out. So one person can concentrate on poles, cutting these and welding all this together, while the second person can focus on just making these. These are completely separate from this part. Your material would be 1/8 inch backer piece welded to this for strength and the fact we can get some heat. And then the actual, all the rest of the part of the blade sign, if you will, the face and stuff, will be 090. So the 090 part can be made completely separate, welded together, held together by just a simple jig on the back, and then lordsing the face on, and we're done there. You'd have the cost of lords, build that into the price, but essentially it's no more than just a directional sign that we have already done. So somebody could make all these faces, they could stack up, put the riv nuts in, and everything's ready to go. And then that's one production line, and the other production line makes all these posts. And then once all the posts are done, it's one big lords party, and you just lords this face onto the backer here, and we are done. A third production line slash can be done at any time, and I'll be going over this in the second part of this video, is the cladding. So that part is just been and put together, but that's kind of its own third production part. And then for the ones that require the post to be on the concrete, they will have gussets and the plate to weld to the post, but that could be done later. So it could be added to a different part of this, you know, so whoever's doing this post part would be doing that. So anyway, so that's kind of the production slash how I see it being done. And then I'm going to switch over to in real life, and we're going to look at that part. Check it out, up in the game. So this is a quarter scale. What we have here is this is the base plate, quarter inch. We've got the 2-inch, the 2x2x1/4 laid out there. And then we have what would be the 2 clamshell pieces. I have them stuck together, but as proposed in the design, it's the front and the back. You'd have your bolts on the front and back, and they come together. So that is at the proposed angles. The challenge of this thing is, as it is in the drawings, it's a little more difficult to see here because it's all bowed out. But this is at a complete 90. This is at a pretty good angle here, but you also have compound angles going out from here and there, so it's a kind of a challenging piece to make. So, but I think I have it laid out properly. So we got 30 degrees, as they say. So you'll just imagine that this is where the 2x2 posts is welded on the back at a 30 degree, and that's basically how it'll sit. So it's looking pretty good. But this showed me a major design flaw. So imagine that you've got this, and really this is more of a challenge for the ones that are on the concrete, but they are included in it. So they have to be, you know, it has to be thought out. So imagine you've got your 2x2 right here, and it's at the size that, you know, at that height right here. So the challenge, as you can see, is that the back piece can be undone and brought out the back because of the angle, but the front piece at this angle can't come underneath this lip, and there's no room for it to be attached. So that's a major problem. So the way to get around that would have to be changing the design to where this piece here is actually, this is a one-piece design, all 3 sides, and then these 2 seams would actually then be put to this side, and then this piece would be smaller and shoebox in to the other piece. So that way, once this post and everything's all fabricated, you can slide this piece in this way, and you can come in from this side. You can see where this post is quite a bit away from this right here. Now the wayfinding directionals that we've done before, these cladding pieces directly touch the post, and so we had the bolts tapped right into there, whereas this being this far away from the post and trying to tap it, also your tap will be perpendicular, whereas this is a pretty good angle. So as you go to tighten them, it's going to want to squish these down. Just like as if this was all slippery and you were to grab it, it would want to go down. So what that means is we're going to have to make some sort of a attachment, kind of fabricated little simple thing that will attach to the 2x during fabrication of this part, that will afford, it'll be an affordance of the 2 riv nuts on both sides. And what's good though is we can build that piece out so where it'll be close to the edge here and here, and it will follow the angle necessary to have a good tighten, so that way the bolts will go in at the angle that they are at. But that just means I got to come up with some sort of little thing for that. So if changing the design in that way is favorable slash it's the only way, they kind of basically have to be changed that way. But going forward, that'll have to be the way it has to be. I would say rough estimates though, just based on how much to put numbers to, these are very similar. So since aluminum is sold basically by the pound, if you were to take the largest like type A wayfinder and work backwards from that, the amount of aluminum that's going to be in this fabricated like blade sign, this 1-inch deep blade sign, if you were to take the large like type A, slice that 1/4 inch in half and make 2 1/8 inch sheets, you would be able to get like all of these panels, these pieces, all of that. And this is going to be 090 for the most part, so it's actually less. This cladding is a lot smaller than those large cladding. So I think material-wise, you're not that much more, even with the exchangeable faces that come off. I don't think that you're that much further than just, let's say, the material in one of the very large wayfinders. Um, and also like your square footage of your surface area of all of your, faux finish, making this wood and faux finishing all of this is similar in the overall surface area of the other one. So I think the only thing would be the couple hours. If you were to just do one of these, the couple hours of getting this routed, cleaned, bent, and forming and making this like blade sign that would attach to this part, I think that's your overall added cost. Riv nuts, things like that. Even this is half because you've got 2x2 by quarter here. The biggest directionals were 2x4 by quarter, and they were a heck of a lot bigger. Also, every one of those had many, many holes. We Swiss cheesed those and tapped every one of those for the mounting points for all the panels, if you recall. Whereas this little post won't even be tapped or anything. It'll just be cut and fabricated, and then we will just come up with something in here that does some riv nuts, and we're done, and that will attach this to this. So you add in that. So working from a large directional, from cost, price, and then also just adding some more in for fanciness. Making these will also require a jig. So once you put in the jig probably won't be any more material than a sign itself. And the one-time putting it together jig, assembly of that jig might be the same price as assembling an entire sign. So if we're doing 15 and 15 of each type, then you add in another sign, whatever. So, and then making that jig is going to make this go together very, very, very straightforward, very quickly. So estimating that might help. But of course, these are also fancier. So add in that factor. So get a little fancy tax. So anyway, but I hope that helps. It helped me. And going forward, if you have anything else, just let me know. But those are the challenges we're facing.